for the thought.
Good evening. It's 6 p.m. and this is the meeting of the Columbus Utility Commission, August 15th, 2024. Could we please have a roll call?
Hammer.
Here.
Finkler.
Here.
Tone is absent. Rule is absent. Beckman.
Here.
Handler.
Here.
Curtis.
Here. Thank you. This meeting, my understanding, has been noticed according to the open meetings requirements of the state. And next is to approve tonight's agenda. Is there any changes or corrections to tonight's agenda?
I would motion to approve tonight's agenda. Approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next on to visitor comments. And tonight we have Jody Dobson here from Baker Tilly for the presentation regarding the utility financial statements audit.
Thank you very much for having me with you tonight. We've completed the annual audits for both the water and light utility and the sewer utility, and I believe you've received the copies of the financial statements. And then there's another document that has kind of a blue cover that is called the Reporting and Insights. And so that document really walks through a bit more in detail our responsibilities as the auditor, the responsibilities of management, your responsibilities for oversight, and then anything that's required communications that we share with you. I just want to kind of briefly summarize that document. As far as our responsibilities as the auditor, it's really to issue the audit opinion. And so in order to do that, we start by understanding your transactions, balances, the processes management goes through to capture the financial data, and use that information to inform how do we want to perform our tests or obtain evidence to support the numbers in the financial statements. So we identify where are the areas with the most risk and what are the different ways that we could obtain evidence. And that could be things like confirming balances with outside parties such as banks, tracing a sample of information to supporting documentation such as invoices, looking at approvals on things like timesheets or invoices, tracing other things to approved documents such as debt resolutions and repayment schedules, etc. So we go through all of that process to obtain the evidence, ultimately to be able to issue our opinion. The financial statements received what we call an unmodified or a clean audit opinion. So that's the highest level of assurance that we can give to let you know that the financial statements are a fair presentation in all material respects of the financial position and the results of operations. If there were any concerns that came up with accounting policies, with things that were being done with questionable or very unique or transactions, concerns related to fraud or compliance or going concern or any of those things, we would communicate that. There's none of those things in here, so that is good. We do communicate one item related to internal controls, and that really is just that the financial statements, in theory, we should walk in and everything be completed and put together in writing for us. I will tell you, very few governments have the staffing on hand to do that as an annual process. So we do assist with some year-end adjustments and with the preparation of the financial statements. So we're just required to communicate that to you so that you're aware of that. And I'm just going to look and see here. Yeah, the material adjustments are summarized towards the end of that report, and they're really related to two things. One is the annual pension activity related to the WRS system, that the actuarial report comes out once a year, so we assist with recording that when it comes out at year end. And then the other is just related to some year-end payables that are accrued against that once a year process. So with that, I did bring with me just a short handout tonight of some key financial metrics that we look at for utilities, and so I thought I'd walk through those. The first page looks at the results for the electric operation, and we can see here the last rate case had been done in 2012, and that authorized a rate of return of 5.6%. And that had been declining, and you could see that margin shrinking in the graph. So actually new rates, the utility went through a rate study last year, and those rates were put into place earlier this year. So that should reset both the authorized rate of return and the rates to be recovering the costs. And then the next page is similar for the water utility. That rate of return is it's established by the Public Service Commission. And here, the 5% had been set in 2019. And again, as you were starting to see that margin slowly decrease over the last 3 years, new rates were put into place in early 2024. So I do commend management for being proactive with you on both of those. And I know from having worked through it with several utilities that the rate study process with the PSC is a lot of work. So to go through both of those in a similar time frame is very commendable. Page 3 then looks at a couple these are combined for the water and light because of the way their books are maintained. So looking at the unrestricted cash reserves, those were just under 1 month on hand at the end of 2023. And really we'd like to see that closer to, I'd say 2 to 3 months worth of cash on hand. So that had been drawing down. Given that the rates had been a number of years and you were going through that process, I don't think that's a surprise. And that should be something now that you're able to start building back up. At the same time, the bottom 2 items here, looking at the debt coverage related to any revenue debt outstanding, well above the requirement there, so we're not in concerns of missing any debt covenants. And that's probably in large part because you have so little outstanding debt in the water and light utility. At the end of 2023, only 13% of all of the capital infrastructure was financed through outstanding debt. So that really meant that while you were drawing down on your reserves for both operating and capital needs, you did have capacity there had something been needed on the capital side. And then the last page looks at the sewer utility. Very similar information. We don't have a rate of return here because the rates are not regulated by the Public Service Commission. But we can see that a pretty steady margin there. A little bit of a decrease in 2022 with some non-routine maintenance, and then it's been gone back in 2023. And those last rates, the rates were last updated in 2022. And the DNR does recommend looking at your sewer rates in some capacity every other year. So that can be as part of the budget process, looking at the anticipated revenues to expenses and does there need to be an adjustment, or it can be a more involved rate study. But then looking at the other metrics, very strong cash reserves within the sewer utility, and I know that's something that's been a long history of maintaining cash reserves and planning for capital projects because of the extent not only on the the collection system, but also at the treatment plant of investment needed there. Debt coverage, a little bit closer here, but still very strong at 1.39 compared to the required 1.25. And investment in capital, about 39% is financed with outstanding debt, which is still a very reasonable number. Normally we say, 50-50 is acceptable for utility. If you have more than 50% debt, we start to ask, what's the reason? Now, if you've just built a brand new wastewater treatment plant, that's completely understandable, as long as, that's kind of the peak, and then you're going to be pulling down or decreasing that. So overall, the only metrics here that I might have thought were a concern were those decreasing margins, and both of those I know you've already addressed with rate cases, so very positive results.
Just to chime in, and I think just to chime in, and it's topical based on, your later agenda items, but the capital outlay that staff have prepared it should be concerning to all of you. It's concerning to me. The total on the wastewater plant's just a tick under 19 million over the next 5 years. I've told Jacob that we're probably going to have to look at spreading that out over 10 years. The idea of looking at what the future is for water plant 1, and do we need to be considering a water plant 3? There's some big ticket items that are going to have to be addressed as we move forward, and we'll talk about tonight. So it's great to hear that we're in good shape here, but we're likely going to be stressing those numbers in the coming years.
Just one question. I know that sewer's not regulated, but is there a common theme as to what you would like to see for a rate of return?
Because so many sewer utilities develop the rates more on a cash flow basis, making sure that you recover your operating costs, your debt service, and then your routine capital outlay. They really don't look at a rate of return.
Okay.
So
I didn't know if
think
there was
I think
something off
it's-
the record
Yeah,
type.
it really is hard to say, but I think looking at a positive margin and maintaining a good cash reserve are two key things there that say you're in the right ballpark, so.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions for Jody? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
2024 regular meeting, along with the 2024 commission workshop and the July 18th utility commission meeting, the outage reports for July 13th and for August 6th, and the financial reports for the previous month. Are there any discussion? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
I will move to approve tonight's consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, and Matt, would you please take a roll call?
Curtis.
Aye.
Handler.
Aye.
Beckman.
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
Hammer.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, the next on our agenda is unfinished business. And I'm not sure, Matt, how we want to handle this with Jacob not being here. It's regarding substation 4 transformer and replacement of the bushings on the 4 bushings.
Yeah, so all I can do is highlight some of his memo, and try and play as dangerously here as I can. The 4 bushings be replaced, looks like an additional $29,657.88. He is recommending to approve this funding and the repair work. Looks like 12 to 18 week lead time on ordering the equipment.
Was this, did we not, last meeting, wasn't there something in there regards to 20,000?
We approved 20,000 last meeting.
Right, is this
And
then above and beyond the 20,000?
That was my understanding, because he calls in an additional 29,000.
Okay,
Right. This was the animal contact situation
Yes.
that he said really did considerable damage.
And could have been considerably worse.
Right, right. Okay.
well, I would make a motion to approve the director's recommendation for the replacement of the bushings in the amount of $29,657.88.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? I just had one question, and Matt, you may or may not know, after Jody's discussion, it sounds like there is room in the budget or reserves for this to happen.
That's my understanding.
Okay. So, and I think because this is money, we need a roll call again.
Correct. Beckman.
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
Hammer.
Aye.
Curtis,
Aye.
Handler.
Motion carries. Thank you, Matt. Next on the agenda is the first item of new business, which is the capital improvement plan for discussion. Review of the 2025 through 2030 capital improvement plan with preliminary estimates for the electric and sewer utilities. Still waiting, according to the memo, we're still waiting to remaining details of the water utility.
And the water utility is really the study on Plant One, the feasibility of rehabilitation of Plant One versus the cost of new plant construction. So they're waiting on, my understanding is they're waiting for that estimate on the cost of doing that work, that'll be the primary water utility capital. I'm sure there are others. We'll start here in the packet on page 22. There's a replacement schedule for vehicles from showing obviously this year through 2030. I'll just highlight the next 3 years of replacing an F-550.
Is this the sewer vehicle replacement?
Yes.
Yeah, we're
Yep.
page 21, so we're one behind you.
Oh, it says 22 on the sheet. I'm sorry.
It's all good. Thank you.
So there's a Ford F-550 hoist truck that I believe, if I understand this correctly, it's one piece of equipment, but is separated out over 3 years in payment, that they're looking at a lease to own. Jacob can confirm that, but I believe that is the intent. And then in 28, replacing a pickup truck each year, 28, 29, and 30. And then you can also see the numbers in red show estimated anticipated sale of those vehicles as they're being replaced. So in 25, there's an estimated $13,000 in revenue to offset that expense, along with in 28 another $10,000 due to the sale of a pickup truck. There's no questions, I'll move on. The next page starts the collection system. And again, I'll just go high level on this. I'll try and answer questions, but comprehensive study on, I know you've heard Jacob talk about the impact of fats, oils, and grease in our collection system. So fog, anytime you see that, is fats, oils, and grease. Looking at fog industrial rates, the study is estimated at $100,000. Also, collection system sampling equipment and lab fees, there's an initial cost of $200,000 the first year, with $20,000 in the lab fees in each subsequent year. And then wanting to start a contracted jetting, televising, and repair program of an annual $150,000 towards that effort. Moving down the list, and I'm going to go in the list order, not necessarily in the year order, but I'll try and highlight the years as I go. Lift stations are spread out over a number of years. The Birdsey lift station in 2025, the Hughes lift station force main replacement in 2026, and I should clarify, the Birdsey lift station is a control panel replacement in 2025, and that the Hughes lift station would be a force main replacement in 2026. In 2027, the West Side lift station, looking at pump controls, pumps, and the wet well flushing. In 2028, Transit lift station, controls and pumps for $60,000. The Kiwanis lift station, pumps, valves, mixer, and piping plus generator, $170,000. In 2029, the commercial lift station, pumps at $160,000, and in 2030, the Hughes Lift Station replacement at $190,000. There's also the collection system expense related to the street construction projects. Those are estimates that the Rupert and Milky provide us with, looking at $150,000 in 2025, followed by $75,000 in 26, $175,000 in 2027, $50,000 in 2028, and $200,000 in 29, as well as 2030. Again, those are estimates and are directly tied to the street replacement, street construction projects in the city's CIP. So move on to the next page, moves into the actual wastewater treatment facility, the plant. In 2025, looking at ChemScan system and phosphorus chemical removal upgrades for $100,000. Bar screen level sensors at $20,000. The Muffin Monster rebuild and replacement, $120,000. Rebuild of influent pump flush valves, $6,000 a year. And then primary treatment headworks at $30,000 in 2025. You can see there's a septage receiving and holding tanks, a large $2 million project in 2026. The second bar screen redundancy in 2029 for $90,000. And then there's additional primary treatment headworks expenses in 2027 of $32,500 and in 2029 of $35,000. Moving down the list, aeration tanks, mixed liquor ditch aeration. Say that 3 times fast. $50,000 in 2025. $100,000 for scum pumps and flanges. Wow. In clarifier work, that's $100,000 estimated in 2025. And then rehabilitation rebuild of the sand filter system at $450,000 in 2025. A lot of these are big numbers, and what I've talked to Jacob about is like prioritization of kind of the next step on all of these projects, especially focused in on 2025, is what are the priority projects. And then having conversations with Ellers, who does our financial planning and that we work with on our borrowing, in terms of what is knowing, and one of the things Ellers has asked us for is, what does this 5-year plan look like for not just the utilities, but the overall city? And every day we make a little bit of adjustments, but we've presented the 5-year CIP to the council for kind of an initial review. And then this is kind of that same level of effort here for the utilities. And the next step with all of this is to have Ellers look at it and tell us, based on all of these needs, here is their recommendation for how this is structured and what is really feasible in a year. And then from there, we will have to prioritize that work to make it match. And I told Jacob it's amazing to have this list of all these projects and be in this position. But this 5-year plan, knowing this total cost pushing close to $19 million for wastewater, is really going to have to be a 10-year plan, just based on my simple math and knowing what our borrowing capacity is. But I think from everything I've heard, this is a list that's been needed and it's great to have, and now it's what does the prioritization look like? And so that's going to be that next level of effort. And I don't know that other than presenting this to you and sharing that we're going to share this information with Ellers as that next step is really kind of the takeaway from tonight. And I can keep reading these numbers and try and guess what it is, but I don't know what these projects are. I just know they're big numbers, and that there's more work that has to be done related to this. Are there any specific questions?
Matt, as the list was created and the numbers were put together,
Yep.
was there consideration for what our current rate structure is?
I think that is also part of this Ellers analysis, that they're going to have to advise us on how we move forward, especially with the wastewater plant, in looking at our rates and making whatever the DNR process is for a rate case, that we have to start putting one foot in front of the other for that work, and that's anticipated this year, that we would be submitting for a rate case to the DNR for the wastewater treatment. Moving into the electrical, there's 24 projects listed that I'll skip over and just kind of highlight 25 projects I know. Just very similar to wastewater, the work that Peter and the staff working with Jacob, the same is true with Dalton and the linemen working with Jacob and putting this information together. Obviously, on the electrical side, Forrester was involved in the discussion of all of these projects as well. This has been a big lift just across the city in terms of looking at our overall CIP for the entire city as well as the utility. A lot of time, effort, and thought went into this, and it's a great step forward for the city. You can see there's some pad mount step downs that are needed. Looking at the complete conversion to the upgraded voltage. I'm trying to remember the numbers. Joe can tell me, but we're currently at 20. The conversion is to 72.
Yeah, we're, the older part of the thank you. The older part of the system is 4160, so that's the old substation. There's only one substation of that, and then we have 3 other substations that are at 12,470. And so the object is to convert everything over to the 12,470, because then you have the redundancy of the other substations for
Right,
backfeeding.
and it's critical that this kind of be done before substation 1 fails. So they've got a total cost of the complete rest of the conversion at 3.3 million. And so part of this work now is to determine, is that something that gets spread out over 2 years, 3 years? How do we spread that out best in terms of borrowing capacity, just like the other work? Because there's obviously some efficiencies if we were able to contract larger segments of this out to complete that conversion work. Just rolling through your CIP here, speaking about things that I don't know about.
Sounding like an expert.
Great job. No more than I did.
So, once that conversion's completed, obviously there's a decommission of sub 1 that can occur, and then selling some of the pad mount step downs after the conversion's completed, so that they can utilize those for similar work in their communities. Other projects include burying the circuit around Prairie Ridge Hospital. This would eliminate the overhead lines along Park Avenue, and bury these for further development, both for potential hospital expansion as well as other development in that area. That it is work that would be requested by the customer and paid for by the customer. But it's obviously something that we probably either using cash on hand to pay for, and then billing out, or may have to borrow to then be compensated back. But again, these are things that Ellers will tell us how to structure and work through. And that's planned for 2026. In 2027, there's a rate tariff requires credit for added load to be rebated against the customer's extension costs. You got any further explanation of what that means?
Which one? Sorry.
The rate tariff requires a credit, the credit for the load added in electrical.
Yeah. Oh.
You were on.
The extension for the hospital, so if any customers come online that tie into the same area that we basically charge the hospital for, they would have to pay the hospital, and the tariff on that, I believe, is what that is for. There will also be a detailed report of all this. This is just the preliminary numbers they've given us, so there will be a complete detailed CIP provided by Forrester on this. But that is part of the credits, tariffing credit that'll be done for the hospital. So if any customers come online with that TIF or TID out in an area, it'll all be handled through that process. So then the burying of the balance of circuit 403, that is also planned in 27. Bury circuit 301 for 700,000 in 27. And then we're going to be selling the 69 kilovolt line to ATC, which runs to the east of the building right now, or the utility building. And that's already basically assumed a zero value because of depreciation. So we're just going to give it to them, essentially. 28, construct 304 and 205 tie circuit. This will separate feeds from APC and GAR, allowing backup capacity to each and allowing load growth to the north. So it'll allow us to expand up through 16 corridor and up to the north towards the cemetery. Increase substation 2 capacity. Substation 2 transformer is 42 years old and is undersized compared to substations 3 and 4, and therefore is limiting the factor for single contingency reliable system capacity. We propose replacing it with a new 1222.4 MVA standard capacity. This new standard will be used as the other substations are upgraded in the future and will allow you to grow with only 3 existing substations. So it's a huge benefit for us in the future. And that is the end of that report. The total for the 5-year plan is $8,463,290. Give or take. A zero. Oops. So we've gotten to the water and electric utility vehicle replacement schedule. Basically, we've laid out that next year we're going to be replacing, I thought it was going to be the F-150, but we're going to be doing that in 26, so that needs to change. And we're going to be replacing one of the F-250s or the F-350. Where is it at here? I think it was one of the F-250s. I don't know if it got listed or not. The 15, yeah, the 15. So it'll be truck number 32. That one's going to be replaced in 25 instead of 26, and then the F-150 will be replaced in 26. Other than that, we do the Bobcat Skidster. We have a rental program with that with Midstate. So we purchased the unit, and then now we basically trade it in every year for $3,000 and get a brand new one. It's as long as we keep under, I think it's 450 hours. It's replaced as a lease. It's a pretty good deal, honestly. The digger truck is going to be coming here at the end of the year. We're also looking to purchase a Super Crew utility truck to replace the cab and a half F-250 with the same type of utility box on there. We're getting some quotes on that. We proposed actually purchasing a mini excavator with a break point, nail point head on it for breaking up concrete and getting into the ground. Since we rent one pretty much whenever we need to do any excavation work, it'll be the same lease program that we basically had for the Bobcat Skidster. So we'll purchase it the first year, and then every year after that we just get a new one for the price of just under $5,000. Then I have here in 26 the F-350 pickup truck, which will also be replacing the F-150. I have that through a 3-year term. There may be other options for us that I have that Matt brought up with the vehicles that's non-CDL vehicles will be able to use a leasing program. In 28, we're looking
We're gonna
at,
analyze that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
we'll see how it
We'll
goes.
look at the numbers and see what makes most sense.
Yeah. But 28, well, essentially we'll be replacing the large bucket truck for 125,000, I estimated for a year. Basically, I estimated whatever, they keep saying 8% a year is what the vehicle prices are gonna go up, but with that emissions change in 26, who knows what it's gonna go up to? We really don't. So that's just kind of an estimate. Same with the 29, with the international dump truck. Trucks don't have many hours or many miles on them, but they're gonna be aging out where it's time to replace them. And those costs will be split with water and electric. So, I know I missed part of the budget talks. Did anybody have any questions for me on the wastewater? And we are still waiting on the remainder, most of the water department's projects.
For your benefit, I shared that, next steps is getting this to the city's financial advisor, Ellers, and
Yes.
working through what a plan would be in terms of bonding, debt issuance to kind of accomplish the work, how many years things have to be spread out over. And that obviously, having a list is a great first step, and there's other steps moving forward in the process.
Yeah. And we met with WPPI on Monday to talk about the plan and what's the best options for us with Mr. Chartier. And he has actually said that if you would like him to come explain the reasoning behind the electrical budget capital plan, why it makes sense and what makes sense for us to do and whatnot, he would be more than welcome to come to the next council meeting or commission meeting and explain anything to anybody. Because there is a lot going on with that, and it's essentially the foundation of the rest of the city's expansion and whatnot, and possibilities for growth of the community. Reliability is a key factor.
Just getting into the weeds a little bit, you mentioned the mini excavator that you're renting now. What does it cost for the rental?
I
Just to have an
didn't
idea.
have a price for the rental because it was split between us and the city when it came to the work in the park. But Dalton was gonna get me the details of what essentially we've been using for the past 3 years, renting every month. Not to mention just the fact that we have it, other communities could use it, we could rent it to other communities just like we do our services for everything else. There's a number of places we could use it, there are a number of things we can use it for. We can use the backhoe that we have, but that's a much larger bucket. It's not exactly as tight to get into small areas, and it doesn't have the reach that this mini excavator will have. Plus, the mini excavator, if there's anything that need to be done into a private property, there's a lot less damage to the actual lawn that is done. It has a lot softer footprint. So, it is a nice piece of equipment. A number of communities and other, businesses have them just because once they have one, they realize this is really nice and we can do a lot more with this than we thought. And with everything we have going on and coming up here in the near future, it's gonna be really important for us to have something like that, especially with the conversions and everything going underground.
Thank you.
With the dump truck, why wouldn't we just utilize Public Works?
Public Works has their own truck. I don't know what their trucks are. I know the dump truck we have, we've had it. It's been here for, since 2007. I don't know if it's a special truck. Maybe we could.
It's, if
I
I,
don't
if I
know.
may
Go ahead.
interject, in the past, it's always come that trying to work things out so that when they need their dump trucks, we need our dump truck, in trying to get that, then you're pushing a project off.
Right.
Or you're forcing them to shut down on a project when, And it makes, yeah, I get it from what you're saying.
Or if it's in
but
winter time, the
it's-
plow's on it.
Yeah, it's,
you know.
it's just, it's a nice convenience to have because it's at our or at the utilities disposal for, water, electric, and sewer departments.
Yeah.
So,
And with the sludge program, you know, since we're not gonna be using the spreader truck anymore, it might be a benefit for us to have our own truck in case we cannot get a contracted person here fast enough to get everything out to the fields. You know, it's one more vehicle to use at our benefit to get things done faster.
Any other questions regarding this? So is there anything that you need from us further on this?
Go ahead.
I mean, the intent with this was to share it with you, and obviously there's going to be further discussion, and we'll come back to you once we've got the financial analysis included with the plan.
Thank you.
Also,
Okay.
just kind of wanted to let you take a peek at what we're looking at in the future here. These are fairly rough estimates, but for like the sewer utility, but I'm pretty confident that it's close to where we're gonna be. If not, maybe a little under on some projects. It all depends on what the cost of electronics and drives and VFDs is gonna come out to with who knows what tariffs are gonna be or what's gonna happen here in the near future. I mean, we just heard in the news that Rockwell laid off more people. So it's already hard to find Allen Bradley Rockwell equipment. So who knows what's gonna happen here in the future. We all could be pinched again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we will move on to the second item in new business, which is the wastewater treatment plant HVAC semi-annual preventive maintenance and time and maintenance contract or full service contract.
Yeah. Essentially, this is the start of a plan for all of our utilities, all of our assets. A PM program that'll actually come in, the work is done, it's taken care of, it's gonna be assetted, it's gonna be laid out in a capital improvement plan that is gonna be provided by Bassett Mechanical. They will actually asset every piece of equipment that we have and label every piece of equipment, every utility bucket in the MCC rooms. They will biannually come in or semi-annually come in and actually do all the PMs. Any repairs that are needed will be handled. And the option they gave us was, you know, I mentioned time and materials, just we want the general PM contract to make sure our professionals are inspecting and going through it. And then give us a rough number of what it would be to replace, you know, anything that could happen on top of it, plus time, travel. And they've, you know, we came up with a number around $39,000, you know, total, and then the $30,000 would be the original time and materials. But they do have a program that is basically a full service contract. And that full service contract basically says they have an algorithm that plans out what is going to be needed to be replaced, repaired, due to the asset life and how, the age of every asset in the facility. And they lay that out through a three-year program. And they said, well, this is what we feel you're gonna spend every year on repairs. So they laid that number out as the full service contract. And then it goes into the next year, years 2 and 3, which also shows the cost. And in their packet, they actually break down all of the assets that'll be covered and what'll be covered in the programs. Not to mention, you know, the biggest thing is we will only ever have to pay the contracted amount. If it ends up being $60,000 for repairs and replacements, we don't pay the extra $30,000. They cover it, because we are contracted to pay only set amount. So anything above and beyond is taken care of by this company.
Do we have any idea what we've spent in repairs and the types of services they would supply us with? What what that's equated to for this year or prior years?
In comparison, no, because nothing's ever been tracked. It's only ever been replaced when needed, when it's broken, or repaired in-house. And it hasn't really been assetted and tracked at all, which is why starting a program and having someone come in and actually put the program together for us with the staffing we have and the resources we have, this would be our best option. By reading through it and having it explained to me, it seems like the best option for us would be to sign and agree to the full service contract. And if we do not even come close to that number for the first year, it was explained to me that, well, what would happen is we would come in before your next budget season, so it'd be this time next year. If we only use $15,000 extra, they would adjust the contract for the next 2 years to be 15 to 20,000, so their algorithm would change, and we could re-sign the contract, and that would be our new valid number.
Have we checked out any references? Do we know if other municipalities have utilized?
Sun Prairie uses the same program. I initiated this program with the city of Brookfield with the wastewater facility. The first year I implemented it, we ended up saving over $40,000, just in time spent by employees doing PMs that were handled by a professional.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've had excellent experiences working with Bassett Mechanical. Their reports are very thorough. Their inspections are very thorough, and if anything is ever asked about what to look for, what needs to be inspected on your normal rounds, they have always been very welcoming and very open to helping our operators learn as much as they could in the time frame that they have. Yeah.
And I wasn't sure I followed, so if in the first year we spend 20,000 in repairs rather than the 34,000, is there a rebate then, or how
No.
does that work?
That would be, the adjustment would be the next years of the contract. See, that's where it benefits, it's basically, it benefits both of us, because if we go over, it's free, basically free after that amount. But they make out the first year, but they're giving us the benefit of adjusting the contract down to that number. So the first year, we either are gonna make out, or we're gonna lose a little bit of money, but then the algorithm gets adjusted, so after that point, we'll have the ability to either end the contract, go back to time and materials like we had proposed, or they adjust the algorithm, we agree to the full service contract, and we move on for the next 2 years of that contract with the new numbers.
Thank you.
What would the harm be in looking at the time and materials for year one with the intent to move to the full service contract beyond year one?
And that is the other option that was proposed, is that we could do the time and materials the first year, and if we find that it's more beneficial for us to do the full service contract, we can also go back and say, hey, the first year we've done this, we realize that there's a lot more probably going to be spent and a lot more needed than we anticipated. And looking at the age of the materials, now that we have the full report, we see that there's going to be benefit in us maintaining the full service contract. The algorithm, again, would change. It might be a higher number than what it currently is, but if we know that the assets are going to be need repair, and some HVAC units for, say, the lab in the main ops building, that could be $70,000. We don't know what the price of it could be. I mean, sometimes the simplest, smallest units are still $20,000, and you're like, where did that come from? Well, it's just the price of them. So it's the start of something that's going to show benefits, and the larger, the more departments we bring into these type of contracts, the cheaper they'll actually be for the community, not just the utility, but the community as a whole. And the good thing about Bassett Mechanical is if we go into contract with them, middle of the night we have a problem, say we have our preliminary building, which is basically our influent building where the bar screen is. That's an explosive environment. We get called in due to a failure. There's no HVAC control in that building, so our operators can't even enter the building. They would need to have full apparatus in there to breathe. We can't go up on the roof and repair it. We call Bassett Mechanical, they're contracted. They will be here within a small window and make the repair so we can actually have airflow and keep it a safe environment. Right now, we'd be calling one of the companies we've used, and hopefully the 1 or 2 employees they have will answer the phone, show up and actually be there. There's a couple dozen, if not hundreds of available technicians with Bassett Mechanical that can be called for emergency purpose. And they do more than just HVAC. They will also handle our inspections for our backflow preventers. They'll handle, what else did they say? They think they do like boiler inspections. So all that work will all be done by one company and tracked and asseted by one company. And they literally provide all the paperwork that's needed for us to really put forth a good quality program that'll show us how to track our assets and show us the actual life of the asset so we can actually start really putting together a complete capital improvement plan, not just for the main components of a system, but all the assets that you have in a facility.
So would the semi-annual preventive maintenance and time and materials contract include that asset listing?
Yes. They need that to start the program, so that they've already been here to look at it. They just need to put it together, and they do the initial inspection, and they do the initial evaluation of every piece of equipment. They provide us the document that says, this is where each piece of equipment is at, this is what we think needs to be done, this is what we will do. And then they give us the options of what we want to fix.
What do you think, folks?
And this would start in 2025.
And does that proposed number fit into our budget structure?
It will. I will be putting it in.
I kind of like Matt's idea of doing the time and materials first. That way there you can kind of get an idea without, hopefully, no one coming out on the losing end.
Right, well, and if we haven't had it in the past, what's another year?
Right.
Well, and the thing we do know is that there are at least 4 units that are either near failure or currently not working.
But this
But
is,
they're fans in smaller units. We don't know, what it'll be for the future. And we do have a large capital project coming in into the solids processing. And that HVAC equipment was replaced not that long ago, but it really hasn't been maintained by, proper technicians. So there may be some minor repairs that need to be done to it, but it won't be like a major replacement. So given the options that they provided, it'll be your decision. I mean, I agree. Either option is ideal for us, but it's whatever you guys would like us to go with, really.
so this is primarily a maintenance agreement and not necessarily covering the cost of any replacement parts or necessarily
The maintenance-
some, but,
The maintenance agreement would be the $9,000 some odd dollars, and then the $30,000 is the additional monies set aside for time and materials not to exceed. That would be that contract. And that would be starting January 1st. And then we would reevaluate next August where we were at, how we wanted to move forwards. And that was broken down into 2 different options through the payment structures.
I kind of say,
There's just a lot of information for everybody to go through, so I do apologize for having so much.
Well, I agree with Brooke. I like the idea of the stepping into this. And Laura? So,
Yeah, because year 1, time and material repair budget, $30,000. Year 1, maintenance budget, $9,036 for $39,036. Year 2, they're estimating $37,404 and $37,404 for years 2 and 3 for the one project. Where's the other one here?
So you're on page 41.
Yeah. And then, these are the asset lists here, it goes through here to back to 55. And then on page 57, the multi-year agreement, is for first year, 39,036. The next year, two, would be 9,312 for the PM, $30,000 for 39,312. And then the third year, $9,588, and then time and materials, we estimated at 25,000. Because by that time, we should be pretty much fixed.
But that's an estimate.
That's an estimate.
So you've got a fixed cost of a little over $9,000 each of the first 2 years with a anticipated time and materials budget of 30,000, but they could spend 10 or 15 of that, you're gonna get billed for what they.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Or we can go with the other plan where it could be a $60,000 repair for one unit, and that basically covers everything we spent. And then anything after that needs to be repaired after the second part of the year, basically it's free. And if we do decide to do time and materials, and there's a difference in cost where we say it would cost this, and there was a cost sharing option that Bassett does have if we decide to go with them with the other plans. So there's a lot of options with them.
I'd be inclined to go with the time and materials, because I see a lot of check and inspect, and I don't, the cost is gonna be the cost of the repairs.
Yeah.
With or without them.
Yeah.
So, I'm thinking, let's just do the time and materials, and we would have to pay for the parts regardless. It's just my 2 cents worth.
If we think we're close, I'll take a motion. I don't know if we are.
Pardon me?
Did you want to make a motion?
I know.
So obviously the benefit, the bigger benefit is out of a multi-year deal versus
Correct.
versus a 1 year.
Yeah. And the ability to adjust the contract is a kicker too. They're willing to work with us to realize, hey, we overestimated or underestimated, underestimating, shame on us. Overestimating, it's also shame on us, so we'll adjust it to keep your business. So,
The part I
Nope.
struggle with is not having a history or knowing what
That-
we've been spending annually.
that is one of the biggest concerns that I've had with a lot of the things that we're spending money on. It's always been what cash is available, what can we fix, what is broken, and what's an emergency. Stuff has been pushed down, into the next year and been replaced, but it's never been tracked, and that's really troubling when you're spending this much money on assets and equipment that will fail, and you're running it to failure. That's not ideal for anyone. Show me a farmer that runs things to failure and is successful. Show me a business that can do it. And sure isn't going to work for a public entity.
Is this something that we need to decide tonight, or can it be pushed to the September? Meeting?
I can put it to September's meeting, and we could talk about it as unfinished business. If you guys want to sit and think about it.
It just would give more time to read,
There's a lot of material.
There's a lot
there.
of material, yeah.
And I do believe I can get you the full number for everybody to contact the rep that provided this. I do believe it's in here, but yeah, his numbers are in here. But they'll answer any questions you have. But also, if you would like them to be present in the meeting, I believe I can arrange that to have them here next next commission meeting.
It just gives us more time to
It's
really,
a big
really read
decision,
through
and there's a lot of
things and that.
information there.
Yeah, there,
I mean, let's just face it, this is a detail, a lot of packet. I mean, this is like
Yeah.
reading a legal manual here. There's so much material and information. Bet you guys didn't know you were gonna be going through HVAC and mechanical classes tonight.
Would you like to make a motion to?
I would
move
make
this
a,
one?
a motion to postpone this till the September, commission meeting.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
It does give, Michael and Regan a time to read it over as well. I'm sure they'll have a lot of input and questions as well, because there is a lot there. Again, I'm sorry.
Okay, next on the agenda, the electric utility approval to order transformers for the inventory for the 2025 budget.
Yes. Originally, we thought this was gonna be order it now and it'll be available in '26. But, we contacted Irby, and the transformers lead time is 32 weeks instead of over 60. So, these are replacements and inventory for transformers that we have used, depleted, and have not replaced, or need to be replaced in the city and we need to have on hand. We've been borrowing or purchasing from other communities for a bit now with all the failures we've had and the storms we've had in the community. Doing this will actually make us whole with our inventory, but will also be an asset to other communities. So if there is a need, we'll have an inventory that's available readily to assist our friends and neighbors. But yeah, it's another large purchase, but it is needed for next year, and I will budget this in. But we would like to place the order now so we can have them by summer instead of waiting until next year and then having them in December.
So you're saying we're short 44 transformers?
I think we have 3 of the larger transformers in the yard. And we just got 5 smaller ones this year.
Quite a few got used
Yeah.
out at the park
Yeah.
because of the situation, but you also want to have inventory on hand for any future expansion and such, so. And again, you don't pay for these until you after you
when we get
receive them, so.
Yeah, we just gotta place the order and have it approved because it's a very large number, and then when they show up, then we pay. So it'll be next year, mid-year. So hopefully nothing else happens.
Any further discussion?
And that's contemplated in next year's budget?
It will be, yes.
Yeah.
I'll account for it.
Any further questions, or I'll take a motion to?
I move to approve the director's recommendation to purchase the needed transformers in the amount of $637,650.
Second.
We have a roll call, please.
Hammer.
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
Beckman.
Aye.
Andler. Curtis.
Aye. Motion carried. On to item 4, which is the water utility replacement of the fire hydrant due to a failed nozzle on the Richmond Street between Main and Dickinson.
And this is right by the school and also by Jake Bonas' house, if you wanted to know. During the flushing, one of the nozzles completely rusted off and broke. It's a very old hydrant and it needs to be replaced. There was no price at the time, since Forrest is here doing work in the streets. We got a price for them to repair it. It's $14,750. And that is if they have to purchase a hydrant. We believe we have a viable hydrant in the yard, so that price will be less than that. assuming it's viable. So, kind of, we want to get this done Friday next week before school starts, so it doesn't affect schools, because the school and Richmond will be without water for that, at least 5 hours. And it'll be a little bit of an excavation. So, we want to do it before kids show up.
What was the price that you said again?
$14,750.
All right. I will move to approve the water utility hydrant replacement on Richmond Street between Main and Dickinson for $14,750.
I'll second.
And we'll need a roll call again, please.
Beckman,
Aye.
Andler. Curtis,
Aye.
Hammer,
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
Motion carries. On to item 5, which is the wastewater treatment plant sand filter transducer replacement.
After speaking with Dave Arnott of Rupert and Milky with the issues we've been having with the plant, with the flows being high this year, as you all know, the plant has been operating with 2 of the sand filter, which is our tertiary filtration system, which is the final step of our process before disinfection and discharge into the river. It's been operating with 2 failed transducers for some time. The transducer styles that we have are outdated, and we're looking at pick a date and they're going to fail. They're that old. The cost proposal to repair 2 of them was provided by every, B&M, MSW, Sobel, and William Reed. The only place that really gave us a deal was B&M Technical Services, where they gave us a discount if we repaired all 4. Everybody else just said multiply it by 2. So my recommendation and our engineering staff's recommendation is we need to get this fixed, because we keep bypassing that tertiary filtration system. And with the TSS and the numbers we've had, we need to get this as a start of the process, get it fixed. Next year, as one of the budgeted items, would be replacing the isolation valves of the sand filters, but this is phase 1 of essentially what would have been a massive rebuild project. But the cost of doing it this way is more beneficial for us to get this done now, because we need them to work now, and right now they don't.
Must have left it on, but, well, I was going to make a motion that we approve the director's recommendation for the repair of the, or replacement of the level transducers in the amount of $10,896.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Can we have a roll call, please?
Hammer,
Aye.
Finkler,
Aye.
Beckman,
Aye.
Andler. Curtis.
Aye. Motion carried. That concludes the new business for tonight, and next on to the utilities report.
Well, the past month has been quiet weather-wise, which has been good. It's fake, but whatever. So the electric utility was working on some minor outages. Repairs have been made to those outages. They've continued on the Highway K conversion work, which should almost be finished soon, hopefully. I've had a lot of help with the capital improvement plan. And also, lineman school has started, so Mason was gone for a week at class. He came back early one day to assist with the substation 4 work. That's something he kind of needed to see. So, kind of a big job. Water. Plant 1 overflow project is nearing completion. It actually has been completed, but there are some repairs that need to be made. We met with the project manager today and laid out what we would like changed on the project. There's some curb that was poured that is too long. we paid for link seals to be put around the pipe, and the link seals were siliconed over, so there's no adjustment on a link seal if you can't get to the bolts. We asked that be removed and this link seals be brought to the surface so we can actually, tighten them if there's ever any leakage or any breakage in the concrete. And lastly, there was no account for the loss in level of the reservoir. We lost some inches to a foot of actual reservoir height. So the set points we have right now in our PLC would turn our pumps on and try to reach that level. Well, we'll be overflowing constantly out of the pipe unless we get that adjusted. So Rupert Milkey, Dave Byer will have to show up and open up the program and adjust that number. Second part of that is we'll need to report in our DNR reportable in our records the loss of volume for our reservoir. And that'll need to be our new permitted volume for inventory. Not a big deal, but still needs to be taken care of. The sewer, clarifier deck work is complete. There is some final cleanup, and they left some equipment here. I got an email today that they'll be here next week to take care of that, so that work is done. Yay. Plant septic receiving, this has been something that has been very contentious with the septic haulers, but due to the plant conditions and the fact that we need to drop our solids inventory in the plant and get the plant back in a normal state, we have limited the receiving of septic from haulers to 2 hours in the morning when the operators are here. We've actually had to completely lock the gate because we have had trucks show up when we weren't here to come in and offload and just try to get by with it. So it has been contentious, but it also is one of the things that we're looking into, having to make some adjustments because we do realize that the septic we receive costs us more to treat than we actually make from receiving it. So that is a huge adjustment we need to make. We changed the injection position of our phosphorus removal treatment chemical. It's called Hyperion. It's PAC. It's an aluminum It's an aluminum agent that removes phosphorus and increases settling in the solids. The original set point, original placement of that was put into the line heading into the headworks of the grit chambers. It was moved to the solids splitter box coming out of the clarifiers. What we found was that the pack, simply just called pack, was hindering our ability to dewater because the chemistry actually does the same thing as our polymer. It's a coagulant and a flocculant, but they do the same thing. They neutralize the charge of the sludge to bond it up to let it settle. So what we were finding is the more we were adding of the pack to try to remove the phosphorus, our sludge cake solids continued to drop. I did a quick lab study, a bench test essentially, and then found out that at the set point we were adding the pack, it took 10 times the amount of polymer to even start to make a flock to actually dewater anything. So we said we got to make some changes here. We brought in the vendor that provides our chemicals for polymer, made an adjustment with the polymer. The new polymer works much better, and then moving the set point and the injection point back to the original design gives us more retention time and higher flows to actually treat the influent water going into our overflow diversion and our aeration basin, which is something that needed to be done to make sure that we have proper time to chemically treat the phosphorus. Our plant is a chemical phosphorus removal plant. It is not a biological phosphorus removal plant. So this kind of work needed to be done to make sure that we're meeting our limits, even though we do have the water quality trading program, which allows us to, purchase and do that. But essentially what I would like to do is get us to the point where I don't need to use that at all. We're basically renting that land and taking care of that land. And it is something that the city of Columbus and Columbus Utilities can say, we're doing this to also be stewards to the environment and improve our area, our total area of the watershed's water quality. Stepping into the stormwater program, that will also be beneficial for us when it comes to grants that look at what we're doing. We would like to continue on upon this. But moving the phosphorus position gives us more options to make sure we can optimize phosphorus removal. And we are looking into actually putting this into an inline sampling system where the plant will actually test at different points its phosphorus concentration and add the chemicals as needed to meet the set point that we choose. And that will take a lot of the guesswork out of the operators, and it'll also be instantaneous. So we will, instead of whenever we grab the sample and set the set point, it'll be done continuously up to 5-6 times an hour and always be adjusted in real time, which can all be done basically bringing the wastewater plant into the late 90s, early 2000s technology, which will be beneficial for all of us. We've actually modified our operating procedure to the digesters, not only adding the enzyme, but we saw that we were actually having an issue. We were making so many solids we couldn't waste enough to get rid of everything. So we were bulking up in the plant. We made an adjustment where we're only filling one side of the basically the digester building and aerating that side. And then in the night, when we start to waste, we actually open up the discharge valve for both sides of the tanks. The tanks equalize. The north side is not being aerated, so as the sludge equalizes to both sides, it starts to basically settle, and the clear water on top is able for us to decant. We've gotten to the point now, after doing this for a week, that we really don't even need to dewater with the belt filter press. We're decanting 30-some% of our volume instantaneously because it's actually enzymes being fed, being aerated, and we've gotten to the point now where it's working so well we can actually decant both sides, and we're removing a massive amount of volume from that and concentrating our solids up. So working this, it's basically turned our extended aeration into a modern 2-stage septic system. And it's been very successful, just for a simple process control. So, yay for banging your head against the wall. But yeah, and then today, while I was late, we were meeting with Rupert Milkey on the solids processing project that was formerly the dryer project. One of the things that we're going to be adding to that project, and actually we requested, is when we actually feed solids to the belt filter press currently, the pump only is able to pump out whatever the flow demand is to the belt filter press. That's beneficial when you're using the belt filter press and you have a lot of volume in the tanks. When you reduce the head pressure on the suction side of the pumps, we have a hard time meeting the set point of flow up at the belt filter press. So we lose our efficiency. We also lose our ability to properly dewater, and our numbers start to drop and go kittywampus. We propose that we have a line that feeds and then also returns back and has a check valve that feeds back into the aeration tank, or the extended aeration, so there's always a constant loop of flow. And what that'll do is it'll allow us to pull on demand whenever we need to dewater at the screw press, belt filter press, whatever we do, but we'll also have that constant mixing and constant flow, and we'll have a uniform flow and a uniform and homogeneous mixture of always being able to sample from one point, so we always know what our thickened solids will be. It'll always be the same thickened solids that get up to the belt filter press, and we'll have consistent flows and discharge volumes and same head pressure because it's always in constant motion. Just a beneficial thing that'll show improvement to the plant. A number of plants, the Milorganite facility in Milwaukee, I believe there was Sun Prairie does this, other communities that have improved their solids processing. They have the continual loop. It's easier to pull off of something that's already in motion under pressure than pulling it from a dead head all the way up to that building. It's just physics and hydrodynamics, water dynamics. It'll help us a lot. So yeah, we met with McGuanago. They were also there. They're having similar issues, but they have a different plant design. They have an anaerobic digester, but they're putting 20,000 gallons in, and they need to take 20,000 gallons out a day, and they can't. So, same problem we had, only we had a hangar, they have pits. We're still working on finishing the total CIP. We'll have some final numbers for that. It should be close, but we're still waiting on some final details. In the upcoming month, electric, we're gonna finish on projects we've had in the back burner. We're gonna do some inventory checks and replenish. We're gonna verify all our PPE, and we're going through all our safety audits right now to make sure we have all the proper equipment, proper PPE in stock. It's safe, able to be used. The water, we're gonna identify the issues with Reservoir 1, make the repairs. It's gonna be inspected here soon. We're gonna complete that inspection. We're gonna continue hydrant flushing, and we're gonna continue hydrant painting. State DNR testing, and we're gonna finish up the CIP for the budget. We're waiting for that report back from Rupert Milkie to pretty much finalize that budget. For sewer, we're gonna continue the plant in an optimized state. We're gonna basically try to hopefully bring the plant back to septic receiving as business as usual, just so we can bring us back to allowing the future customers to come to us so that we don't lose them when it comes to the next year and we make our adjustments. But also, we'll eventually start needing those solids back in the plant, nutrients as well. We're gonna be working with Rupert Milkie to prepare a pre-treatment program, which will address the fats, oils, and greases, grease traps in the community, commercial and industrial customers, which will also tie into preparing a rate case for our collection system users, which will equalize the supply and demand to the system and the pricing that gets put out towards residential customers, commercial customers, industrial customers, will be based on flow, but also will be based on nutrient concentrations and what your strain and your stress is that you are putting onto our system. Basically, it's gonna be a way for us to go in and say, we are testing you now. We're going to be able to monitor what's coming in our system, and if you are violating or exceeding the limits that have been provided to you, we will issue a warning and we will fine you if you do not come into compliance. Almost all communities have this program already started. It was proposed, it was studied, it was never implemented here with the city of Columbus, so it's something that needs to be finalized and put into play. It's a moneymaker for the community, and instead of costing us money, it'll spread the burden to where the burden's coming from, instead of putting it in all ratepayers. We're gonna prepare also a rate case, and adjust the septic receiving fees. They were adjusted a few years ago, from a number that made us money to a number that was losing us money. So we're gonna be making some adjustments on that to not only reflect what the impact is on our facility, but also to benefit us, because we need to make the extra income. If we're taking it and we're the closest place to receive it, we might as well take it if we can treat it. For the utility overall, we're gonna complete the budget. We will be interviewing the wastewater treatment plant operator B position here soon. That job is up until the 25th. We have a few applicants, which is better than one applicant. But yeah, it is, it's moving forward. Looks like we do have some viable candidates, which is good. So we'll be starting that, and then we'll start training the person as soon as we get them hired. And we're gonna work through the budget as a department, job descriptions, look at our required staffing, our hierarchy, the, chain of command. We're basically going through everything and making sure everything is where it needs to be, where our budget's gonna need to be, and making sure we have everybody in the right place, and also making sure that whatever position you have, if you decide to take a vacation day, or you're off, or you're at home for an emergency, you're not getting a phone call from somebody asking you for help, because that is inappropriate. Everybody needs a mental break, and it's time for us to make sure that the foundation of this community and our utilities departments is getting that mental break, or they will eventually break. So, That is all I have for the report. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, I apologize for being late.
Jacob, did we get sample results back from the soil sampling from the
Yes,
Fireman's Park?
the sampling is back. We did not see any PCBs in all the historical documents and all historical samples, or the samples that were taken in the park. The berm that is currently sitting inside of the old Countryside Ford building had one location with trace amounts of PCBs, but they are well below the limits of requirements. So that means we will be waiting for the DNR to review and give us the final okay to use that soil as fill or mix in with our compost that we have to use as we feel fit.
Nice.
So we did an excellent job of keeping documentation of what we did in the 70s and 80s removing PCBs. And we were able to verify the one transformer that we did not have information on had only a trace amount. So we were very lucky and we did a good job, and I'm glad we did what we did just to make sure we had public safety and environmental safety at hand.
Super.
So,
Thank you.
yes, very happy with that outcome. It has been a process, and I do appreciate all the work everybody's done and the patience of the community, especially with the 4th of July coming up so close to it. I'm glad it was a success because we were all sweating, not just because of the heat, but because of the heat.
Job well done.
Scramble with weather not.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was. And the thing is, you know, when that happened, there was nothing that could have been done immediate because it was raining so hard for the next day. I mean, there was really, it was a guess to say how much of an area was actually damaged. The only positive is when that oil actually got to the grass, we could see where it was because it killed the grass instantly. So that was good. But it's like, how much actually came out of here and out the rain and the mess? It was one of them instances that you never want to get a phone call for. And it was just a mess. And I really do appreciate all the hard work and time everybody put in because it was very much needed and very much appreciated. So
Well, the team did a great job.
they did.
They really
And
did.
I'm glad you guys say that because whenever you see them out and about, please tell them thank you because they deserve it.
Always.
Yeah, because they were tired.
Understandably so.
I mean, poor Craig was knee deep, then it was sinking into waist deep in water when we were trying to figure out why there was a hole here and why it kept filling with water. He's like, I don't do wastewater anymore. Why am I covered in mud? And it was ice cold too, so we knew it was groundwater.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
So next on to future agenda topics. One of the first being the wastewater treatment plant HVAC controls coming back next month.
Yep. And then, again, mentioned, just to put on the topics, I'm not sure we'll have it ready for next month, but just be in mind that for future topics, we will be looking at the rate case adjustments, septic receiving rates, the concentration-based multipliers and whatnot for the sewer rates, and fog discharge. I mean, if you go to a restaurant or you're out and about and you smell French fries and no one's making French fries, please let me know because we will mark it on a map because that does a lot of damage to our system. I'm sure if anybody saw the news, it made national news. There was a massive sewage backup in the city of Kenosha that they assumed was caused by flushable wipes. The only problem with flushable wipes is if they do say flushable, they are flushable. Doesn't mean they're
Degradable.
breaking down. I mean, you can flush a lot of things that'll go down the hole, but doesn't mean it's going anywhere. But when you add fats, oils, and greases to anything, imagine oil in your bacon grease in a can, it solidifies instantly. So when it gets to cold water, it's going to solidify around anything that's in there. So that blockage was basically rags, flushable wipes, and a big wad of grease. And that's not supposed to be in the sewer. So it's one of the things that we really, every community's worst nightmare is getting that call and having that happen. And it's something that we never want to have to deal with here. So, And if people are doing it, we're coming for you.
You've been warned.
Yeah. Also, I did not realize, was not made aware of the proposed date for the meeting next month because of the WPPI annual meeting. I will be attending that, so I will not be here on the 19th.
I won't be here.
And he will not be here. And I also, the 18th, which would be the Wednesday, I will probably be golfing because I was asked to golf with them for the charity golf event or the event. So if we could do it a week earlier, or I don't know what Tuesday looks like for the city's agenda, but that'll be something we'll have to look at, or if anybody has a proposal, please let me know so we can actually make the meeting happen next month.
Tuesday won't work because that's council meeting.
Yeah, so,
Is the week prior plan commission?
On Thursday.
Huh?
On Thursday. Second Thursday is plan commission.
I know, on this one it was last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I just suggest you throw out a doodle poll and try and find a time that works
Yeah.
for everybody.
I mean, we can
Thank
always
you.
do it the week following, it's just when you do it the later in the week, it comes to payments. People get a little pushy. I mean, if I was gonna get paid, $80,000 or something, I'd want that check too.
So you'll get back to us then?
We'll get back to you
Thank
with,
you.
what the date is, we can find.
Are there any other future agenda topics that the commission would like to see? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We stand adjourned at 7:32.